President Trump ordering the Pentagon to restart nuclear testing. This follows an announcement from Russian President Vladimir Putin that they successfully tested its Poseidon nuclear-capable super torpedo. Joining us right now is Joe Lonsdale, Palantir's co-founder and 8VC founding partner of 8VC and an Apollo Global. They just announced a partnership yesterday to fund the innovators rebuilding American industry, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But given actually your role at Palantir, I'm actually curious. They had sort of a fascinating split screen in the past 24 hours. On one end, you had this tariff truce, maybe deal, temporary something, maybe more than that, with China. And at the same time, you heard the president say, we're going to start testing nuclear weapons. And I think people are trying to make sense of the two.
Well, we had a good conversation, it sounds like, with Xi last night while we were sleeping. And he said it was 12 out of 10. They got what he wanted, which I think is good for the markets, positive overall. This conflict with Russia, the war was not as easy to end, apparently, as some of us were hoping. And I think he tested these. I mean, listen, these are scary things they have over the last 10 years Russia's developed. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, the self-driving car of nuclear weapon. These things go in the water. And it's, our nuclear triad, we don't have these, as far as I know. These are different. We don't need them. We have a triad already. These things are scary. They could take out cities. And he's talking about those. He's testing 14,000 kilometer, missiles with nukes on them. We have a lot of nukes too, and it's important we show that we have a deterrent. Trump's saying the right things.
And do you think, just real quick, that this is real? I mean, we were talking to Ambassador Burns earlier. Given the timing of that announcement, obviously, contextually, he talked about it in the context of Russia, but he also announced it within the timing of his talks with President Xi. So how related do you think these two are?
Listen, I think Trump knows you have to show strength, right? And I think you have to show strength in a respectful way. It's probably a better way to show strength talking about it versus another adversary when you're going to visit someone's home.
Do you think it was a mistake then over the last 30 years for us not to be doing such a thing? I mean, President Bush, many years ago tried to de-escalate things in this context.
I think there's certain parts of the world where when you show strength, it's really important. I think America was so dominant in the 80s and 90s, especially after the Cold War ended, that you almost didn't even need to say it. I think at this point, if you look at what Xi said and thinks about China, he said he thinks the West is in decline. He's growing. We're showing him that's not true. We're showing him with our new advances we're making in the defense world. We're showing with what Trump's saying, we're not just going to fade away and be an easy target. You better watch out.
Let's talk about this deal with Apollo. What's this about?
As we all know, there's a lot of really exciting things going on in AI. It's actually working. It turns out over the next 10 years, we're going to reindustrialize the U.S. We're going to bring back advanced manufacturing. We're going to do it in every area. We're going to do it in bio. We're going to do it in aerospace. We're going to do it, in all sorts of parts of our economy. It's going to need trillions of dollars. A lot of cases we build companies. I put a lot of equity in. They get growing. They're really big. But there's a lot of assets we're going to transform their value. That means lots of different types of financing. Apollo is one of the world's best at this. They manage around $1 trillion. We need types of capital and expertise from people like that for our companies to help build in the U.S.
How?
That's a different type of, I always think of Silicon Valley as being this asset-light type of, this CapEx-light sort of investments, and that's been great for it. But, man, that has shifted over the last couple of years.
Well, there's lots of things. So, first of all, it's the fact that OpenAI needs infinite cash. And that's and in some ways, that's separate, though. So, think about this. Like, one of our companies, a bunch of ex-talent from Waymo, these guys are some of the best in the world. They're doing autonomous excavators, right? 25% of all construction in the U.S. uses these excavators. You can do them without people. Actually, that makes a lot more projects pencil. But if you're going to start doing these projects, for example, you can run a quarry much more efficiently. There's 6,000 quarries. These are assets you can transform now with technology. Wow. That requires a lot more scale of capital.
That is amazing. And it's great to hear the rebuilding of America and reindustrializing things here. But it sounds like it's going to be done with a lot fewer workers, blue-collar workers, than we've seen in the past. Well, is that the idea for it?
I think it's really important in economics to understand, in order to make these projects pencil, in order to make them efficient, you need to do them more efficiently. So overall, you can still create more jobs, more activity.
It will create more jobs overall.
100%. I think Jevons paradox is a really important point in economics, where when the price of the efficiency of coal plants doubled, so you needed half as much coal, all of a sudden the demand for coal went up. Everyone was worried who was investing in coal back in the 19th century. Oh no, you're not going to need as much. Turns out if you could do more with it more cheaply, you need a lot more. And so this is especially when it comes to building things. You're going to have a lot more labor if you could do it more cheaply.
Yeah. Okay, talking about building things, data centers are being built all over this country.
Everywhere.
I mean, it's coursing through the economy. And the question that has been raised on this broadcast and elsewhere for the last month, if not more, is whether we are in some kind of bubble, whether there is demonstrable ROI behind it, whether it's a religion, whether you can actually do the math, and whether the math makes sense. What say you?
I was sitting with friends actually a few nights ago in San Francisco from OpenAI and Anthropic and the usual suspects. And actually, it was funny what they were telling me. I'm going to get myself in trouble here, but they were saying basically these companies are afraid to scare their investors, and so they're telling them they need a lot less capital, a lot less energy than they know they actually do. So you're going to see every 3 to 6 months, as we have, oh wow, it turns out we actually need a lot more energy. We actually need a lot more capital in data centers. So if anything, I think we're underestimating how much investment's going to go into this space, how much they're going to need.
So I don't disagree with you about how much we're going to need to make it work. The question is whether you think that there's math on the other side to pay for it all, given the fact that, at least right now, the economics don't, look favorable in this particular moment.
The economics are extremely favorable for the apps and services companies, and with AI, we're building on top of it. So I'm building a lot of companies in the real economy that are increasing productivity. Those things are very economic. In terms of if it's economic or not for what XAI and Anthropic and OpenAI are doing, that's a very tough question.
But all of the apps are being built on top of those frontier models in large part. No.
Yes, but they're profitable. The things on top are profitable today with our LLMs today, and it's clear LLMs are getting even better. So we already have something that's very profitable, very worthwhile today, even if all of the development stopped. So obviously it's in my interest for them to keep investing money, keep getting better, but it already works today. So it's not a bubble in the sense that there are things that are worth trillions of dollars that, in terms of productivity even today.
And what do you make, though, of how these things are getting financed? We looked at a fascinating deal just a week or two ago with Meta and Blue Owl, which effectively is a private credit firm. They effectively guarantee that they'll be using the data center for 4 years. They guarantee some kind of cash out, I think, to 16 years, but they could actually get out, at least partially, of some of these deals. I mean, some people look at some of this and say, that's a little like WeWork, short-term rental, long-term commitment.
They're going to need a lot of capital. I think OpenAI just is implying it's going to go public at $1 trillion valuation, something in the news I read this morning. That makes sense to me. The retail demand for this stuff's really high. It turns out there's a lot of very wealthy people in America who want access to the top of AI and the top of defense, and so they're going to need more capital. I think they're going to get it.
And you have no concerns about any of this?
I'm an investor in the things that I know are going to be profitable, the productivity layer, the apps and services layer. I'm not as big of an investor myself in the model companies. So yeah, I am concerned that in situations like this, if you echo telecom, there could be too much money put to work.
How do you think, therefore, about an NVIDIA or an AMD or some of the big chip companies that have benefited from this, but at the same time, a lot of it's dependent on the continued build-out and effectively payments longer term from a lot of the LLMs and others and the big tech companies to continue to support it?
Listen, I mean, it's very clear the AI thing is real in the sense that it's working to hugely affect productivity. It's just huge growth. If you look at the growth of revenue in these companies, they're going up quickly. In any situation like this, of course, you're going to get them investing way ahead and burning way ahead to grow. That's the nature of it. But it's clear it's not going away.
Palantir.
It's crushing it.
It's crushing it. I imagine you believe it will continue to crush it.
I love the Jensen announcement. It's the most powerful enterprise stack in the world.
Well, that was the question. Where do you think? What does Palantir look like to you in 5 years from now?
Listen, Palantir is the way that a lot of the biggest companies in the world are deploying AI and productivity and accessing it, and it's succeeding, and it's becoming the core stack.
Right, but the multiple on this is extraordinary at this point.
It's impressive.
Right, and so my question to you is, what has to happen to either grow into that multiple or shift? I mean, how much business do they have to capture, and what does that business even look like in the future?
I think they have to keep growing at the pace they're growing, and it will not look nearly as expensive if it keeps growing at that pace, as you say.